If you're like many people, you likely just turn on the tap when you need a drink of water, or maybe you don't like the taste of your tap water and you're buying cases of bottled water instead. Well, we all know that we can't live without water, but how much consideration are you giving to the water that you're drinking every day? Could poor water actually contribute to cancer? Is there a best water when it comes to preventing chronic diseases like cancer? In this next interview, you'll meet water expert Paul Baratiero. Paul has lectured across the world for over 20 years. Over a decade ago, he set out to educate people on the vast benefits of molecular hydrogen. His message has focused on the critical role of molecular hydrogen to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. His lectures present the true cause problem and solutions through scientific studies. Paul works diligently to educate people on how to prevent disease and end suffering. This conversation is so important because water is life. It's part of our everyday. It's part of what we give to ourselves, our children, our grandchildren. In this conversation with Paul, we're focusing on two things. One is what's in your water that could be contributing to cancer, and two is what's missing from your water, and could it be this molecule known as hydrogen that needs to be in it for your body to do what it needs to do, which is heal itself. This is a great interview, and I know you're going to learn a lot. Paul, thanks so much for being here, man.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor.
So you have kind of an incredible backstory of what got you into all this amazing work you now do around hydrogen. You're speaking at conferences, you're talking to doctors, you're working with clinics and practitioners, right? Helping them help more people to reduce suffering and help heal from disease. And so what was it that really got you into this whole journey of hydrogen, and why do most people have no idea about hydrogen?
Great questions. What really got me started is the love of my life. My queen, my wife of 27 years, her name is Jacqueline, and she, for our first 10 years of marriage, was having thyroid issues, anemia, gynecological issues with her menstrual cycle and what have you, all kinds of things going on. And so here I was focused on diabetes and helping individuals with diabetes not have amputations. And I thought, this amazing woman is the most important person to me in my life. And I'm 31 years old and I may lose her, right? This was a pretty serious issue. So I was looking for ways to help her and be able to accommodate and make her life better. And so in that process, I was studying everything possible. And I came across the fact that hydrogen regulates so many different systems in the body. And initially, I looked at water as a delivery vehicle for hydrogen gas into the body. But the problem is, and I'm throwing out this number and I'm being kind because it's actually higher than this, but I would say 97% of the population have gut dysfunction to one level or another. And what does that really mean? It means the bacteria in the gut is out of balance. And if the bacteria is out of balance, then they're functioning on about 30% immune function, which my wife was. And so they're more susceptible to sicknesses. They're more susceptible to issues. They have oxidative stress, inflammation, all kinds of issues going on in the body because honestly, there's a lack of hydrogen. And that's what just blew my mind is when I began to research all the systems in the body that are regulated or modulated by hydrogen gas. It blew my mind, honestly. I was like, what the heck? I've never ever heard of this in medicine. I've never heard of this. And so I began looking at studies, and there were not many at that time. Today, there are over 1,100 studies showing therapeutic effects with over 200 disease models. But that's simply because, again, if people's guts are not functioning, you don't have anaerobic microflora, and you don't have these amazing little bacteria that are within the anaerobic microflora family called hydrogen trophs. And these hydrogen trophs convert fiber and short chain and medium chain fatty acids that are in your food that you're supposed to be eating. If you had a gut that was functioning, you would have these hydrogen trophs, and these hydrogen trophs would convert fiber and fatty acids into hydrogen gas. You'd have hydrogen gas, and you would modulate oxidation and have no problems. But because we have disrupted gut function, we don't have the hydrogen. And so people end up with oxidative stress and inflammation, which is the leading cause of disease. And that's what got me doing what I'm doing. I was just on a peptide summit and we were talking about peptides, and peptides can't function without hydrogen. And so I was being interviewed and they were like freaking out, going, holy cow, well, how do we miss this? That peptides can't function. Nothing can function in the body without hydrogen. And that's the problem, is when our gut is disrupted, our entire system is in trouble. And so that's why when we give people hydrogen gas, instantly, literally, and I'm not exaggerating, instantly they start to feel the effects because they're supposed to have it in their body naturally.
So, just adding hydrogen gas to the body, you're going to see benefits, but wouldn't the root cause of that be actually creating a healthy gut environment so your body can produce more hydrogen trophs, the bacteria, to help create the hydrogen? And how do
Absolutely.
those two things go together? Do they complement each other or do they not?
Not only did I create a system that will dissolve hydrogen gas by harvesting it out of water molecules, but then we changed the electrical potential. And what I mean by that is the millivolts, water itself can have a positive electrical potential or a negative electrical potential. If it has a positive electrical potential, it's oxidative. If it has a negative electrical potential, what we call ORP, oxidation reduction potential of a solution, in this case, water, if it's a negative electrical potential, then it's antioxidant. And when it comes to repairing the gut, people are trying to use probiotics, they're trying to use all kinds of things. These are all band-aids. Some are better band-aids than others. But if you actually want to change the terrain and what we call the microbiome of the gut itself, the fastest way to do this is changing the tissue in the gastrointestinal tract to a negative electrical potential of anywhere negative, but particularly if we get to a negative 300 millivolts to a negative 400 millivolts, we very rapidly change the actual biome and terrain, and we selectively stimulate anaerobic microflora where it's supposed to be in the gut. And so this is one thing that I'm extremely passionate about. And so not only are we giving hydrogen immediately to the people, but as they're drinking the water, they're actually modulating their gut function. They're actually increasing immune function, and they're actually repairing or putting back in place the proper terrain. And when you put the proper terrain in place, the bacteria will come. We don't have to seed things. There's a lot of people teaching that, you have to seed things in the gut. I disagree. The environment has everything you need, positive or negative, and whatever you support, that's what will grow or flourish. And so if we give a negative electrical potential to the lining, the tissue lining of the gastrointestinal tract, then you'll have anaerobic microflora coming in. If we put a positive electrical potential, then we end up with too much aerobic bacteria. And that's the problem with most people. If you have too much aerobic bacteria, now you're craving sugar, carbs, depression, anxiety happens. And it's simply because of the bacteria count in the intestinal tract.
Well, really what it comes down to is we think like, oh, just keep adding more
Yeah,
good bacteria in and that's gonna handle it, right? But the reality is that's not how it works. It's what you're
correct.
putting in that the bacteria come and form around. Your microflora creates that community based
Right.
on what's actually going in your body, right? And so you have to change what's going in your body to change your microflora environment.
Well, and those bacteria aren't going to create communities unless the environment is appropriate for them.
Yep.
So you can throw probiotics at people every day, and that's just what it's going to do. You're going to have to give it to them daily, because if you don't change the terrain or what we call the microbiome, then the bacteria can't create a home. They can live temporarily and you can have function, but they're not going to create a community and a home and establish themselves with strength so that you actually have immune function. And what we need to understand is 70% of immune function is tied to the gut bacteria. Right. So if we don't have the proper gut bacteria, again, like I said earlier, you're going to be functioning on 30% immune. Yes, you can live, but the problem is you're susceptible to a lot of things, and you don't have to be. Literally, there's a beautiful study, and I didn't just make this number up of a negative 300, negative 400. There was a study in Russia many years ago where they looked at the millivolts in the tissue of the gut. And what they found is negative 300, negative 400 is the perfect number where you get the tissue to that, and boom, the entire microbiome is now suitable. And you will select, as it said in the study, you selectively stimulate anaerobic microflora. I've done some small clinicals before with some individuals that had some pretty serious gut dysfunction, and they were taking antibiotics every day to keep inflammation down so they could work and function. And I said, can you start drinking this water and just tell me when you feel pain in your gut? It was within an hour. Literally, that's how quick we were outperforming an antibiotic in growing good bacteria, because as soon as they felt that pain, what did that tell us? Inflammation was coming because the body's trying to repair itself. And so literally you change the electrical potential in your gut and the body is like, oh, thank you. We're going to set up a home now.